this video is going to be a little bit about controls and settings that I use in Battlefield 5 as a pilot. These are all going to relate specifically to the pilot class. Some I get a couple questions on, so I figured I'd just go through and kind of show what I've learned in my time of flying. So just right off the bat, controls, normally when I learned how to fly, I just went with default settings. I still like the default settings to a certain extent, as well as when the game comes right out of the box, the plane chase camera roll is set to on. Now that's how I learned how to fly. I loved it. I think it really helped in my spatial awareness as far as, cutting into turns and things. I still do love flying with the chase camera roll on, but if you want to test your mettle and challenge yourself with having the chase camera roll off, you may gain some extra turning abilities. Now there's a kind of a debate. Some veteran pilots that I talk to say it doesn't make a difference, and then me personally and others that I've kind of talked to who've gone from it being on to off all agree that it helps you turn faster. In my testing of it, I don't want to get too much into it, but I think you might gain a second in terms of doing a full 360 turn. So this is just a preference. My settings, again, what this video is about, I fly with it off. The other thing too is turn your camera shake scale all the way down to 50%. That way if you're diving in on an AA gun and they're hitting you, it's not going to shake you so much where you're terribly off target. I haven't really messed with the plane settings too much. I mean, have your vehicle aim sensitivity all the way up. Invert vehicle flight. Nope, I'll keep that on. Control schemes, I'm going to get into buttons. This is probably the most exciting topic here, but just going through as if you had the default settings. I'm just going to go through here and see what I'm looking for. Here it is. Plane control sensitivity, max that thing out to 150. The more sensitive your stick is, the way better things are going to be as far as turning and dogfighting and just overall agility. Okay, so pilot buttons. This is how I've always flown for the most part. Actually, until recently, I've always flown with this just generic pilot button loadout, which means your throttle up and down is on your left stick. That's what I've been used to. It's how I've liked to fly, but in terms of tweaking a few things, here's the biggest change with these custom buttons. So instead of having the throttle up and down on your left stick, I've now moved them to the bumpers. I like this setting because with any plane that has a turbocharger, you basically get instantaneous acceleration having your throttle on a button versus on a stick. So I deleted what the left stick normally did, so now my left stick only controls my rudder. Moving up or down on left stick has no effect, so if I hit this thing all the way to left, I'm going to get a lot more out of it than if I'd had it blended with the throttle. So here's where left stick used to be, up and down. I've moved that to my pilot free look, but once you start moving button around, you gotta free up space elsewhere. And one area where I freed up space was I just deleted exiting vehicle. If I'm going to take a plane, I have no intentions of bailing out, so I put exit onto my danger ping and commo rows, choose objective type of menu. It used to be on RB, right bumper. Now I'm using that for my accelerate, so I had to put it somewhere. So I put that there. Chase camera is the same. Here we go. Here's fire and zoom. They're still on the same triggers. And as far as weaponry goes, I didn't mess with the triangle, but one thing I noticed is if you're going into a strafing run with your rockets out and you finish your rockets and you want to get back to your primary guns, you have to toggle through. Basically that means you have to double click this button as opposed to just switching directly to your machine gun. So something that I added here, this normally isn't mapped, but I put primary weapon as down, so that way rockets are normally on equipment 2. I can switch from rockets to the primary weapon very quickly. So this is what it's like normally with the toggling through the triangle. And this is the advantage to having your primary guns and your rockets on a separate toggle setting. Let's back out of this. The other thing I switched, and I'll talk about a little bit, so before I put my throttle on my buttons, I was keeping it on the joystick. So one way I tried to replicate having the throttle on a stick was to increase the axial dead zones for my left stick, which is throttle, as well as my right stick, which is my maneuvers. Essentially what this does is it kind of zeroes out some of that blend you'd get in between all the way left and all the way up. As you can read here on the right, helps achieve a perfect horizontal only or vertical only turning at max speed with no need for a total precision with the stick. Setting lower value means or does less canceling out, which means less help. So I maxed these out, which kind of made my stick feel like a button, but there's still that sort of gradual buildup of the controls realizing that the stick's all the way back, versus if you have it on a button, it's almost instantaneous. So I've been using it on a button, and it really allows you to control your speed, as you'll see here. So this is kind of what I run. Again, nothing too crazy. I think the only thing I didn't mention was zoom out your vehicle third person. I think it's in video. Yeah, vehicle third person field of view. Zoom that all the way out to 95. But other than that, that's what I run. Try your own settings, have some fun, and hopefully I don't have to go against you with these awesome settings on the battlefield. Peace.